Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to you all. You know, we often think about faith and finance as two separate worlds, but what if they're deeply connected? Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful passage from the Quran that does exactly that. It weaves together religious belief, clerical greed, and divine justice in just a few short verses. So let's explore how it builds this incredible argument.
And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? This is the big question we're tackling. How does a sacred text forge a link between theology, what we believe about God, and economics, what we actually do with our wealth? This passage insists that you can't separate them, and we're about to see exactly why.
All right, first up, the passage really doesn't pull any punches. It opens by directly challenging some of the claims and the religious authority of other communities. It sets a very strong, very assertive tone right from the get-go. I mean, listen to that language. It's incredibly direct. The text quotes what it presents as specific claims from Jewish and Christian communities and then follows up with this forceful, unambiguous denunciation. There's no mistaking the message here. It's drawing a very clear line in the sand, theologically speaking. But this is so important. The scholarly context here is absolutely crucial. Interpreters really highlight that phrase "from their mouths," which suggests this isn't some blanket condemnation of every single believer. Instead, they see it as a very targeted critique of specific verbal claims, maybe arguments that were circulating at that particular time.
And you see, this critique is really twofold. The first problem, the one we just saw, is about elevating human figures to a divine level. But then the very next verse points to a second, related issue. It warns against treating religious leaders, scholars and monks, as ultimate authorities, as lords, in place of God himself.
And this all comes back to a foundational principle in Islam, tawheed. It's the absolute bedrock of Islamic belief, the idea that God is one, indivisible, and that our ultimate loyalty belongs to him and him alone. So from this perspective, giving that ultimate allegiance to anyone else, whether it's a prophet or a scholar, is seen as a serious deviation from that central truth.
So, after identifying these theological issues, the text makes a shift. It moves from that sharp critique to this powerful, confident assertion of its own destiny and its resilience, especially in the face of any opposition.
The passage then brings in this beautiful, powerful metaphor. The divine message is described as a light, something that provides guidance and truth. And any opposition, whether it's arguments or slander or suppression, is framed as this futile attempt to just blow out this brilliant light with nothing but their breath.
But here's the response to that. The passage declares that it's impossible. No matter what opposition arises, the divine will is to perfect that light, to make it complete. It's this statement of ultimate confidence that the message is destined to shine through, no matter who might dislike it.
And now we get to the pivot. This is where the text makes a really stunning connection, moving directly from these high-level theological ideas to something incredibly tangible: economic corruption.
Look at the logical path the text lays out here. It basically argues that a theological mistake, giving humans authority that belongs only to God, is the first step. That, in turn, opens the door for corrupt leadership. And what's the end result of that? Well, it leads directly to social exploitation, where those leaders unjustly devour the wealth of the people.
And this verse just spells it all out, doesn't it? It makes the link explicit. It accuses many religious leaders of not just making theological errors, but of actually using their authority to consume wealth unjustly. In this view, corrupt belief and corrupt economics really do go hand in hand. And after hitting this point so hard, the passage concludes with one of the most graphic and, honestly, unforgettable images of divine justice in the entire Quran. It focuses on the ultimate consequence for hoarding that ill-gotten wealth.
So picture this. The scene is set in the afterlife. And the very things that were hoarded and loved so selfishly in this world, all that gold and silver, they're not just left behind. Oh no. They become the actual instruments of punishment. The punishment described here is so personal, so physical. First, the heated metal is pressed to their foreheads. And think about the symbolism there. The forehead is a very place of prostration, a symbol of submission and identity. And it doesn't stop there. It continues, searing their sides and their backs. The punishment literally covers the body, a visceral consequence for a life spent accumulating wealth and turning one's back on the community's needs.
And then comes the final, devastating pronouncement. Their own wealth becomes their indictment. It's such a powerful moral statement. What you valued most in this life, what you hoarded for yourself at the expense of your duty to God and to others, will become your very torment in the next.
So, let's step back and bring all of this together. In just a handful of verses, this passage has woven together three distinct but deeply interconnected themes, flowing seamlessly from one to the next. So you have these three core pillars. It all starts with doctrine, the pure idea that only God has ultimate authority. This belief then fuels a powerful sense of destiny, a confidence that God's plan and His light will succeed. And finally, both of those ideas create the foundation for a system of ethics, which delivers a stark warning that when leaders forget the doctrine, they end up betraying their community through greed.
And that leaves us with a final thought to really chew on. This passage from over 1,400 years ago insists that what we believe, how our leaders behave, and what we do with our money are all part of the very same moral equation. So the question for us today is this: what can this ancient link between our beliefs and our behavior teach us about power, wealth, and responsibility in our own world?